Hey guys, and welcome to another episode. Today in this video, I'm going to show you how to install stainless steel brake lines. Now, if you guys saw in the first part of this video series, I showed you how to paint up your brake calipers. And these things look fantastic. I'm not going to install them until I install these stainless steel brake lines, along with the adapters and everything else I need for the big brake kit. So, these stainless steel brake lines are sold from StopTech, and these are stainless steel braided lines. The lines that I currently have on the car are the OEM rubber ones that have a stainless steel lining on the inside, however they're not quite as strong or durable as these. Now whenever you install a big brake kit or any performance braking system for that matter, you should have included a set of stainless steel lines. If you go with StopTech, Brembo, Willwood, whatever company you get, they're almost always going to come with a set of braided lines like this, and I'm going to show you today how to throw them on your car. So inside the wheel well, you're going to find two kind of brake lines. You're going to have the one right here, which is flexible, right here, and this allows the braking system from the ABS module in the engine bay to come to the hard line to here. And because our wheel goes up and down because of our suspension and everything, we can't have a hard line like this that's made out of steel. We can't have one of those that's permanently wired up to the brake caliper because obviously it's going to snap. So we're going to have a rubber line there and the steel one there.
So in the engine bay, you're going to have an ABS module with all of your brake lines connected to it. Now all of these lines are made out of steel and they don't have any flex or give. They're not going to diminish any braking performance over time.
So that means that over time, this rubber will actually deteriorate, as you can see right here. It'll deteriorate and it'll eventually need to be replaced. Now if you replace it with an OEM regular one, after your car has been old and you've maybe driven it kind of hard, you will see an upgrade as of that. But the thing is, if you go from a rubber to a stainless steel braided one, you're going to see an even more difference and gain in performance. You can see that the line itself is starting to fade and crack, which means that now is a perfect time for us to change our brakes. So on each corner of the car, you're going to have one set of rubber lines that go from the metal part to the brake caliper itself, and we're going to have to replace that rubber one with the new one. So if we look right here, we've got our new stainless steel brake line and we've got two ends to it. We've got the one end here that attaches to the brake caliper, and we've got the other end here that attaches to the hard line. Now this is going to need to be screwed in, and this side here is just going to be inserted with a banjo bolt through it. Now I'll get into that in a second, but we're going to first begin and take a look at this side. So the part that connects to the hard line. So we've got two ends right here. We've got the metal part on top and the rubber on the bottom. Now we're going to need to remove and loosen up that nut on the top on the metal part where the hard line is, and we're going to need to remove that so we can take out the rubber end of the brake line. In order to safely remove and loosen up that top nut without stripping that little metal connector, we're going to have to use a special kind of wrench in order to take it out. So right here I've got a special set of wrenches, and these are called flare nut wrenches. And these are slightly different than the regular adjustable or even ratcheting ones that you'll see. Now I'll take a look at one of them, and you can see that the connection is a little bit different than before. Instead of just having it come out on both sides, it actually wraps around. And this is very important because this kind of wrench right here is going to be able to get more grip than a conventional wrench. This thing is going to grab around almost the entire thing, as opposed to a regular wrench that's only going to be connected on both sides. It's kind of a claw, so you'll be able to hook around and get better grip with this style tool. Now before I use the flare nut wrench to remove this nut, I want to first remove any dirt just so I get a very good connection between the nut and the actual wrench. So I've got a can of brake clean, and I'm just going to spray down this little section right here. With that a little bit cleaner, you're then going to be able to get your flare nut wrench, slide it over the brake line up top and over, and then you're going to be able to turn this and twist this whichever way. So if you're loosening it, you're going to have your wrench here, and you're going to twist it like that. So lefty loosey, righty tighty. If you're going to tighten it, you're going to twist it this way. Now keep in mind that as soon as you remove the nut on top, there's going to be brake fluid that's in the lines that's going to want to escape and evacuate. So make sure that whenever you want to take this out, either here or by the brake caliper, that you're ready to take it off and you have everything else removed. So before I remove the brake line up here at the top, I'm first going to remove this, and this is holding the brake line attached to the arm up here. So I'm actually going to use my flare nut wrench to loosen this up. Now you can use a ratchet or a flare nut wrench, it's all going to do the same thing. You just can take this, unscrew it, and once you have it out, you're gonna take that out of its hole, put the screw back into it, and then the brake line itself is gonna be free. So for my car, it's a 10mm wrench that you're gonna need. So just get your flare nut wrench up here and loosen this up. Now, once it's loose, don't take it out yet because we're gonna need to remove the banjo bolt on the back side of the caliper just to make sure that everything is gonna be able to come out nice and easily. So on the back side of the caliper, we've got our brake line right here, and it connects down into this little thing, and there's a bolt that goes through it. Now this bolt has an opening that goes in it that allows brake fluid to pass between the brake line and the inside of the brake caliper. Now we're gonna need to remove this banjo bolt in order to take the brake line off. So for my car, it's a 14mm wrench. Stick it on the end of it, and you're gonna have to loosen and remove this banjo bolt. So when you buy new stainless steel brake lines, it's actually gonna come with new banjo bolts and new washers. And these are very important. You're gonna need these when you install the new lines. Now for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna reuse the old ones, only because this video is not about the big brake kit, it's about the brake lines. So when I install the big brake kit, I'm gonna be installing it with these. So crack this loose until this can spin, and then get ready, because with this loose and the other bolt up top loose, the brake line is gonna be coming out very quickly. So it's in your best interest to try and change all this stuff quickly, because the longer you take, the more brake fluid you're gonna lose. So if you can, try and be quick when you're doing all this to prevent any brake fluid from leaving the system. So get your 10mm and remove this. So once it's out like this, you're then gonna need to remove this, so the brake line right here, the flexible one, from this little bracket right here. And the easiest way that I find to do that is to grab a set of pliers like this, attach the bottom jaw right here on the bottom and the top jaw on the top part, and it'll pull out the little piece that's attached to it. You just gotta rock it back and forth and the thing will come out. I find this a lot easier than going in there with say a punch and trying to get it to come out. Because this way, look, it took us like 10 seconds to pull the entire thing out. It doesn't really matter how rusty that is, as long as you use the leverage from the bottom jaw on the bottom, it's gonna come out. And with that done, the brake line should come right out. Now at this point, you just grab your new stainless steel brake line, feed it from underneath, and make sure that it gets reinserted into that little hole. Now before you do that, clean off any dirt that you have up here. You see that? Clean it off and just wipe it away, just so that it prevents the new piece, the new end of the stainless steel brake line, from rusting. So just leave that like that, and then feed your brake line underneath. Now at this point, just hold the brake line in and tighten it down until this thing doesn't really spin anymore. Now you shouldn't have to torque this down too much. It only needs to be like basically hand tight. It's a small nut up here, so just, you know, tighten it up to a reasonable spec. Now there's no actual way to get a torque wrench on this thing. Tighten it within reason and you'll be in the clear. So once that's in there, you know, basically tight, there's not gonna be any movement within these two pieces. You're then gonna reinstall that little clip back in here. So grab the little clip, put it like that, and then the best way that I find to put it back in is with a little ball peen hammer. Get it like this, align it, and just give it a couple taps until you can push it in all the way. And there you go, that's in. See, that's not moving anywhere. Now next up is gonna be removing this 14mm banjo bolt that's holding the old brake line in. So you can see that it's right here and it's attached to the brakes. So we're gonna have to remove the banjo bolt and the two washers that are in between the actual brake line so that we can replace it with our new stainless steel one. Loosen this up and then take this out. Now just keep in mind that whenever you loosen this thing, all of the brake fluid that's inside the brake caliper is gonna come out. So make sure that you have something underneath to catch it all. So as soon as you unscrew this, the thing should just come out by hand, which is nice. So just take out the banjo bolt, the brake line will come out, and make sure that you get the extra washer that's attached to here. Oh, there it is, it's on here. So you should have one washer, the brake line, and then if you take the bolt out, you'll have another washer on there, and then the actual bolt. So make sure that when you reinstall it, you put it exactly in this order. Now because you guys know I'm a little OCD, I just went ahead and cleaned up all the rust from the banjo bolt, so that when we put it back in, it's gonna be clean. But it's actually quite simple. Now that we've got that out of the way, you're gonna have the brake line then fed into the backside of the caliper. So you're gonna bend it like this so that this bracket will be able to fit back up on that bolt that we removed up here. You're gonna have your banjo bolt and your washer feed through the backside. You're then gonna grab your other washer, push that in, and then feed that into the backside of the caliper. Now make sure that when you're doing this, you do not cross thread the threads in here, because if you do, you're most likely gonna have to buy a brand new caliper, which is, you know, close to about $100 depending on the car and depending on how bad it is. So once you have that in there hand tight, grab your wrench and just tighten this down. Now the actual torque spec for this should be 14 foot-pounds of torque, so it's not too much, so don't overturn it. You just want those copper gaskets to crush. And it doesn't take that much because copper is a very soft alloy.
Don't forget to connect the brake line up to the little bracket that attaches to the spindle. Once that's in there and secured, you can then go ahead and bleed the brakes, put the wheels back on the car, and you'll be on your ways.
So if we move to the back of the car, you can see that we've got our brake caliper here, along with our banjo bolt and our brake line right there. Now the brake line moves back a little bit, attaches to the back part of the knuckle, and then comes down, follows in there, and is attached right there. And the way that you take it out is the exact same way that we took out the front brake line. So we're gonna have to disconnect this connection right here. We're gonna have to disconnect it back there on the back side of the knuckle. And then we're gonna have to disconnect the banjo bolt and then replace it with our stainless steel one. So before we get into it, I'm just gonna go over all the connections with a little bit of penetrating fluid, just to make sure that everything is gonna come out nice and easily. If you're working on an older car, rust is gonna be an issue. So if you hit it with a little bit of penetrating fluid beforehand, you're not gonna run into any problems. So before we actually remove the brake line, we're gonna have to remove the little clamp that's attached to. So you can see that there's a little thing on the back that's connected by a 10mm socket. So just take that out and set it aside. I lied, it's a 12mm, but just loosen this up and take out the little bolt that's holding it in. So with it removed, the brake line back here is actually gonna be free. So we're gonna be able to move this, and now we're gonna be able to disconnect it from both the banjo bolt and from the hard line up there. So the banjo bolt takes a 14mm wrench, and the little nut at the top takes a 10. Remove both of those just like the front, and then we're gonna have to remove the little spring clip. So just like before, grab a set of pliers, attach the bottom jaw on the bottom side, and the top part of the jaw on the top side. And then you just should be able to pull the top part right here out by squeezing, and the little spring clip will slide out and you'll be able to remove the brake line down here. So if you wiggle it and you start on one side, squeeze, you go to the other side and squeeze, and then you go back and forth, the spring clip should come right out without any problems. Now even if it's rusty, it'll come out nice and easily. Now if it's really that bad, if you want, you can spray a little bit of penetrating fluid up on here, and it'll make it so the spring clip will be able to slide off of like this little metal hanger adapter thing. So take out the banjo bolt, make sure you get both washers just like before. You have one there, and then the one up in there. So take that out, grab the brake line, make sure you have a catch can to catch all the brake fluid instead of it falling on the ground. And then also come from up here and disconnect the brake line. And there you have it. So we'll have this, we'll let that sit inside of there. Now we don't really need this anymore, so we can let that sit there, and any brake fluid will just stay inside the bucket. But in the meantime, you can then grab your new brake line and then hook it up. Now I'll let you know right now, if your calipers are painted and any brake fluid drips onto it, it will eat away at the paint. So grab a can of brake clean, give it a shake, and spray it over any area that has brake clean on it. So the brake fluid itself is actually corrosive, so it'll eat away and tear away at the paint. So if you just painted them and you want them to stay looking nice, definitely get a can of brake clean because it's gonna save you. Now it doesn't really matter what end you start off with, but then reinsert your brake line. So the stainless steel brake line right here is now connected up to the hard line just by hand. I just twisted it on, and then you're gonna have to match up and mount this end here up to the brake caliper. Now make sure that you run this line in the exact same way that the old one was. So don't mount it like this, because this is actually gonna be underneath the car. You wanna mount it up so the stainless steel line follows the exact same route as before. So it comes here, comes up, is able to mount up back in there, and then we'll connect up here to the brake caliper. So once you go ahead and tighten up both the banjo bolt and the hard line up there, you have to make sure that you install the spring clip back in there. So get a little zoomed in shot of this. The little spring clip has to be fed in that little section in there. So can you see that like little lip part? The spring clip is gonna be attached and it's gonna go in there to make sure that this doesn't move around at all when you're driving. So it's nice and secured just like that. So once you install your brake lines on the entire car, both front and back, you're then gonna need to go ahead and make sure everything's tightened up and then go ahead and bleed the entire system. So make sure that there's no air pockets in those lines, because if you have air pockets, you're not gonna have a good brake pedal feel. And that's kind of what we're trying to fix. So if your brakes are spongy and you've already bled them, these new stainless steel lines should fix that entire problem. If you guys have any questions regarding the video, throw them down in the comment section below and I'd be happy to help. Again guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. So during this weekend, I want to see if I can put out a video outlining what's going to be going on for the giveaway when I hit 50,000 subscribers. So I'll actually be doing a Q&A section and I'll also be doing a giveaway. So I'll be giving something away to one lucky subscriber. But yeah, I'll get into it later. But in the meantime, if you guys have any questions regarding anything in the world, throw them down in the comment section. And when I hit 50,000 subscribers, I'll make a video for the giveaway and I'll also be answering all those questions for you. So if you guys have any questions, throw them down there. And yeah, I guess we'll wait till that video comes out. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.